Hey guys, it's me, Jennifer, and I'm trying to post consistently. So far I've had two videos out. My first video was more so like something that's been on my mind, and it's usually a conversation that I have with my friends. Um, my friends we'll talk about how it feels like to be like a black woman or like the things that black women go through, which is why I made that video about like colorism and just like the other things that black women do go through specifically. These are things from my experience and things from my friend's experience, and I'm pretty sure there are other black women out there that can also relate to it, because I hate to say the hate towards black women is very universal. Like, maybe one person might have not experienced the type of hate or vitriol that one person has experienced, but definitely there's something that you can find in common with another black woman that you have gone through. Um, I've seen black women be bashed in the media, despite like it doesn't matter what skin tone they are, they will still be bashed. And it's even worse if you don't have smaller features or what people classify to be Eurocentric features. It's even worse because I don't know if you remember how they treated Francesca, the girl who was going to play Juliet with Tom Holland, how they treated her and how they just compared her to so many like nasty and disgusting things. Like, it's, you can see the hate is very present. It's very present. The hate is there. And people that try to deny that racism and colorism still exist are people who have never like experienced it, or they don't want to come to terms with it. And unfortunately, as a black woman, you have to live through that every single day. There's going to be a form of colorism, racism, texturism, noirism. It's all going to still exist no matter how many times people try to deny it. There's going to be someone or a group of people who experiences most, if not all, of those things. When I was younger, I experienced colorism, and I got bullied a lot, and I was called like things like Midnight, Oreo, anything that was a deeper shade, I got called that. And whenever I would have a crush on someone, that was probably the worst time to be alive, because say if that person has like colorism embedded in them, that's how they were raised or whatever, or they're basically trying to assimilate to all the other people that were in our grade in our classroom, and just bandwag off the hate for darker skinned women. That would be the worst time to be alive. How many crushes that I've had that lasted only for like a day or like a few weeks, I wouldn't be able to count it on one finger. I would not be able to even count it on two fingers. I was always discouraged because I had like a darker skin tone, or they would say something that was so hateful that was like, oh yeah, like I'm never going to find a boyfriend or someone who genuinely likes me because of my skin tone. And it got to the point where I started feeling and thinking that way too. And I didn't get out of that mindset until like later on in middle school. Um, when I was in elementary school, like, yeah, I got bullied like so much. And people would call me things like Blackie, um, call me things like charcoal, midnight, all those things. And I would accept it, and I would I would think that it's funny because, what else could I do? If I spoke up against it, people would say that, oh, like, you're too sensitive, you're too this, you're too that. And I didn't want that problem, and I wanted people to, like, accept me. If they could accept me for my skin tone, they could accept me for taking a joke. And as I got older, I think by the age of like 14, 15, I got out of that mindset, because that's not how I see myself. I wanted to love myself, and I wanted someone who could love me for who I was. And I wasn't receiving that from the people who I was like staying around, whatever. These are things that were taught to them, and I can't change that mindset. I can only change the mindset of who I am and my kids that I would have in the future. But I wouldn't want to ever be with someone who saw me as like a second option, or someone who didn't see me as human or like a love interest at all. And of course later on, like, I like dated people and stuff, like Not everyone gave me colorist remarks, but when I moved from my predominantly black school and I moved to Florida, my school in Florida was a predominantly white and Hispanic school. And the first person I talked to from that school was, he was Hispanic, he was white Hispanic. And I remember, like, I wasn't the one who went up to him first and was like, oh, I like you. I didn't tell him that first. He told me that first. And he was like, yeah, I like you and stuff. And even when he told me that he liked me, it was for the weirdest reason, but I didn't realize it at the time. He was like, yeah, because you look like you can beat me up. And I was like, I didn't understand what that meant at the time. And I never asked him to elaborate. But now that I'm thinking about it, like, because of the events that happened afterwards, it all makes sense now. But basically, like, I stopped talking to him because after he confessed and said, like, oh yeah, I have feelings for you, he never showed any type of interest or never made me feel that he actually was interested in me. And instead, he would keep me a secret or pretend like he didn't know me or just treated me as a friend. And that's not the route that I wanted to go with him. I wanted to be seen as someone's love interest, not just someone's like hidden piece. So I just thought maybe like things we weren't compatible or things were not going to work out between us. And after I ended things with him, shortly after, I think spring break came and he started talking to someone else. And lo and behold, he actually started like showing off that girl. He started showing off that girl, and then he let everyone know, like, yeah, this is who I'm talking to, and stuff like that. He had no shame, and I was like, maybe this is because I'm black. Because, like, after that, he even, like, had a relationship with someone who I would later become friends with. And same thing, same energy. Let it be known that that was someone who he was with, he was dating and stuff. And I was like, well, probably it was because I was black. Like, you know, I think most people try to experiment with black women, but they actually don't like black women. And that something else that further proved my point was after that whole thing that happened later on, graduated from high school, moved into my college dorm in California because I went to UC Davis. And around that time, I started talking to someone else and I was getting to know him. He was also Hispanic. And I remember we never had the conversation of like, oh, what race you've dated, because it's not a question that I've ever felt the need to ask before. I know there are some people who do ask the question, um, but it wasn't a question that I felt needed to be asked unless it was probably like brought up, and I would answer. Um, I would answer authentically. Like there's really no need to lie, basically. And I've never been the type of person to not date a specific race. Like people put stereotypes on certain races. I've never understood why. And I feel like I've been lenient with dating outside of my race and within my race because I know what it feels like to be criticized because of your race, and especially when it comes to dating. I would never do that to another person, so I never understood why people did it. So I was talking to this one guy. We later dated, but he let it be known that I was probably like the first black girl that he talked to and dated and stuff. It was a little bit odd for me, but I was like, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. Even though I've told myself previously I would not want to be someone's first black girlfriend or just first black love interest because of how I was treated in the past and like the the things that I went through because of that, but I still gave it a chance. And you know just like how I thought within the relationship, not not too long into the relationship, he would make comments and remarks that just made me feel a certain way. And then he would try to like sweep it off by saying like, "Oh no, like my black friend in Oakland said this was okay." And I just like started realizing this is not someone for me. I did break up with him afterwards because he just I could tell that he didn't look at me as a love interest. It was more so when he saw me first, it was like, yeah, you're black. And he would say these things, and I'm not trying to be someone's exception when it comes to a black person. As someone who has lived with the stereotypes that are put onto black women, loud, black, ghetto, aggressive, and stuff like that, I will still be seen as those things. It does not matter what type of characteristics I have. This is literally the stereotypes that are put onto black women. And like, it's just like, it's so unfair, and it follows you everywhere, basically. God forbid there's a black woman who has like, oh, God forbid that there's someone who has like a different interest, or they like something else. Suddenly it's like, oh, you're whitewashed. You want to do this, you want to do that. Or when else it comes to dating, if you don't act like the stereotypical black woman, suddenly it's like, oh no, you're different from the rest. And I never want to be put in a type of category like that, because what do you mean you're different from the rest? I'm still a black woman at the end of the day, and I'm still going to go through the same struggles that a black woman is going to go through. It's either you like me for who I am, or you don't like me at all. And I'm glad I'm not in a situation like that anymore. And I also realized that being in a relationship with someone like that, or people like that in the past, always reflected on how I saw myself, because it seems like, because I knew that I was probably not their type at all, or someone who they saw a future with, I always criticized myself, and it kind of just swept away all the hard work that I put into building myself from this internalized hate. All the work that I put into when I was in middle school would just be swept away, and I don't want to see myself with such hate, because I know I'm a beautiful young black woman, and I wish there are other black women out there who saw themselves in that same light, because unfortunately self-hate is something that is taught, and based on the environment that you're in, self-hate can be so common. It can be in a black man, a black woman, it can be in, and you don't have to be black to like have self-hate. And I never wanted to be a type of person who hated myself, especially on features and things that I could not change about myself. Even if it was changeable, I wanted to love myself how I was, and being around people like that was not going to help me at all. And I'm glad I'm in a place where I can look back and say, like, yeah, you're like, you see yourself in a different light, because I just would never want to see myself in that low esteem light that I had before. And I think I've come so far, and I do hope that anyone that is struggling with the same thing also realizes it, because you are beautiful. You don't need another person to tell you that you're beautiful. It's just something that you have to look within yourself. I know it sounds a bit cliche, but I would say that's the best advice that I've followed, and it has got me so far, honestly. I I treat myself fairly now, and I hope that there are other black women out there who feel like they've been unfair to themselves, start being fair, and start realizing that these stereotypes and all the stigma that's put onto you is not your fault. It's the fault of society, and how racism has literally impacted not only our community but outside our community, and you should just live your life to the fullest, honestly. But yeah, that's one of the things that I've been wanting to talk about so much, and it may have not been a long conversation, but I hope this video does get to someone, and maybe there's someone out there who also needed this pep talk. So I hope this video does you good, and I love you so much. Bye.